Maya Rivera sat in the cramped waiting room of the free clinic in Tucson, Arizona, clutching a grainy ultrasound photo between trembling fingers. At 23, she had imagined sharing this moment differently, maybe over dinner, maybe with excitement, instead of this hollow dread settling in her chest. The father, her ex-boyfriend Derek, had made his position clear 2 weeks ago. He wanted nothing to do with her or the pregnancy. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to Derek's contact. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Maybe seeing the image would change his mind. Maybe he would remember the person he used to be before the gambling debts, before the anger. She attached the photo and typed, 12 weeks. It's real now. Please call me. Her hands shook as she hit send. The Arizona sun blazed through the clinic windows as Maya walked to her car, a decade-old Honda with a temperamental starter. She didn't notice the typo in the contact name. Derek Mobile had auto-corrected to a number she'd saved months ago after a wrong number text exchange. She'd kept it because the stranger had been kind when she'd accidentally sent him a photo of her broken-down car, even offering roadside assistance advice. 300 miles north in Flagstaff, Jack Ironside Morrison sat in the back office of the Ponderosa Riders Clubhouse, reviewing receipts from their annual charity poker run. At 42, he'd been president of the MC for 6 years, leading 70 members with a reputation for discipline and community service. The club ran youth mentorship programs, organized fundraisers for veterans, and maintained strict bylaws against criminal activity. His phone buzzed. An unknown number, but the area code was local to Arizona. He opened the message. The ultrasound image loaded slowly. Jack stared at the tiny shape on the screen, the words 12 weeks visible in the corner. The message read, 12 weeks. It's real now. Please call me. He sat back in his leather chair, the overhead fan doing little against the late September heat. This wasn't meant for him. Some woman had sent the most important photo of her life to the wrong person. The pleas in that message carried weight. Desperation, hope, fear, all compressed into one word. Jack looked at the phone number, then at the ultrasound again. He should text back, explain the mistake. But something in his gut, honed by years of reading people and situations, told him this wasn't a simple wrong number to laugh off. He texted back, I think you have the wrong number, but are you okay? Do you need help? Maya's phone buzzed while she sat in her car, willing the engine to turn over. She read the message twice, confusion giving way to horror as she checked the recipient. Not Derek. The stranger from months ago, the biker who'd helped her troubleshoot her alternator over text. Her face burned with embarrassment. She typed quickly, Oh God, I'm so sorry. Wrong person. Please delete that. Jack read her response. He should let it go, but he remembered that conversation months back. She'd been stranded on Route 89, scared and alone at night. He'd stayed on text with her until a tow truck arrived, just making sure she was safe. No judgment here, he typed. But that please call me sounded urgent. The person you meant to send this to, are they stepping up? Maya sat in the parking lot as her car finally coughed to life. She shouldn't answer. This stranger didn't need her problems. But isolation had been crushing her for weeks, and something about his direct, no-nonsense question cracked her composure. No, he's not. Jack set his phone down, then picked it up again. His VP, Carlos Nomad Ruiz, knocked and entered the office, eyebrows raised at Jack's expression. What's got you looking like that? Carlos asked, dropping into the chair across the desk. Jack showed him the messages. Carlos, father of 4, whistled low. That's heavy, brother. You thinking what I think you're thinking? I'm thinking someone's alone and scared, and the person who should be there isn't. We don't know her situation, Jack. Could be complicated. It's always complicated, Jack said. But we have a saying in this club about looking out for people who can't look out for themselves. Carlos nodded slowly. So what's the play? Jack texted Maya. Where are you located? Do you have family support? Friends? Maya stared at the message. This was absurd. A biker club president. She'd looked up his profile after their first conversation. seen the patches and the group photos, was asking about her support system. She typed the truth. Tucson, family's in California. We're not close. Friends are his friends. I'm kind of on my own here. What happened next surprised her. Her phone rang, the stranger's number. She answered, her voice cautious. Hello? Maya, this is Jack Morrison. We texted a few months back about your car. His voice was deep, steady, the kind of voice that sounded like it didn't waste words. I'm not trying to overstep, but I need to ask you straight. Are you safe? Do you have what you need? Maya's throat tightened. When was the last time someone had asked if she was safe? I'm okay. I have a job, an apartment. I can manage. That's not what I asked. The directness should have felt intrusive, but instead it felt like someone actually seeing her. No, she admitted quietly. I'm not sure I can do this alone, but I don't have a choice. There's always choices, Jack said. Listen, I know this is strange. You don't know me. But my club, the Ponderosa Riders, we help people. That's what we do. We've got resources, connections, food banks, medical assistance programs, legal aid if you need it. No strings, no judgment. Maya pulled into her apartment complex, killing the engine. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Because someone sent me a picture of their baby and asked for help even if it wasn't meant for me. And because I've got a daughter myself. She's 18 now, in college. I remember what it was like when her mom was pregnant, how scary it was even with support. What do you want in return? Jack's laugh was short but genuine. Nothing. But I do want you to have a phone number you can actually call if things get rough. And I want you to know that if that ex of yours gives you trouble, you've got people who'll make sure you stay safe. Legal, above board, but firm. Maya sat in her car as the afternoon heat built, processing the surreal conversation. A biker gang. Club, she corrected herself, offering help because of a mistaken text. I don't understand why you'd do this. Because it's the right thing to do, Jack said simply. And because nobody should face something this big alone. Think about it. You've got my number now. Use it if you need it. He ended the call, leaving Maya staring at her phone in the driver's seat, the ultrasound photo still visible on her screen. Inside, something shifted. Not hope exactly, but maybe the first crack in the wall of isolation she'd built around herself. In Flagstaff, Jack walked out of his office to find Carlos waiting with 5 other club members. We riding? Carlos asked. Jack looked at the group. Hector Smoke Alvarez, the road captain, Pete Chaplain Morrison, the club's spiritual advisor and Jack's cousin, Tommy Wrench Chen, their mechanic, and 2 prospects eager to prove themselves. Not yet, Jack said, but stay close to your phones. Something tells me the situation's going to need us sooner than later. Chapter 2. The Call. 2 weeks passed. Maya settled into a new normal, morning sickness that lasted all day, shifts at the diner where she waitressed, and the careful budgeting that came with knowing her savings would need to stretch through unpaid maternity leave. She hadn't contacted Jack Morrison again, though she'd saved his number under Biker Jack Emergency. Derek had texted twice, both times asking for money he claimed she owed him. She'd blocked his number after the second request. It was a Thursday afternoon when everything changed. Maya was restocking napkin dispensers in the mostly empty diner when Derek walked in. She hadn't seen him in person since their breakup, and the sight of him made her stomach clench beyond the usual nausea. We need to talk, he said, sliding into a booth without invitation. Maya glanced at her manager, Rita, who was watching from behind the counter. I'm working. This won't take long. Derek's smile didn't reach his eyes. I've been thinking about the situation. I want to be involved. Hope flickered despite her better judgment. You do? Yeah. But I need you to sign some papers first. My lawyer drew them up. Basically says you won't come after me for child support and I sign away parental rights. Clean break for both of us. The hope died. You want me to legally agree you have no responsibility? I'm giving you what you wanted, for me to leave you alone. This way it's official. Nobody's the bad guy. Maya's hands tightened around the napkin dispenser. Except I'll be raising a child alone with no support. Derek's expression hardened. You made the choice to keep it. That's on you. Sign the papers, Maya. Don't make this difficult. And if I don't? His voice dropped, taking on an edge she recognized from their worst fights. Then I'll make things difficult for you. I know people, babe. I can make your life real complicated. Talk to your landlord about lease violations. Call your boss about that time you took home leftovers. Don't test me. Rita appeared at the booth. Sir, you need to order or leave. Derek stood, dropping a manila envelope on the table. Think about it, you've got until Monday. He walked out, leaving Maya staring at the envelope like it might bite her. That night, Maya sat in her apartment with the papers spread across her kitchen table. The legal language was dense, but the meaning was clear. Sign away any claim to child support in exchange for Derek's complete absence from their lives. Her hand hovered over her phone. She called Jack Morrison. He answered on the second ring. Maya? Everything okay? The words tumbled out. Derek's visit. The threats. The papers. Jack listened without interrupting, and when she finished, his voice was calm but carrying an undertone of steel. Do not sign anything. Do you have a copy of those papers? Yes. Take photos. Send them to me. I know a family lawyer in Tucson does pro bono work. Her name's Sarah Chen. I'll have her contact you tomorrow. He paused. Has he threatened you before? Mostly just yelling. But the way he looked at me today. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow you're going to call in sick to work. Sarah will meet you at a coffee shop, somewhere public, your choice. She'll review those papers and explain your options. Meanwhile, I'm going to make some calls. Jack, I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. That's what we do. His voice softened slightly. You're not alone in this, Maya. Not anymore. After they hung up, Maya photographed the papers and sent them. Then she sat in her tiny living room, hand on her barely showing belly, and let herself cry, not from fear this time, but from the overwhelming relief of having someone in her corner. In Flagstaff, Jack forwarded the photos to Sarah Chen, adding a brief explanation. Then he walked into the main clubhouse where a dozen members were watching a football game. Need a word, he said, and the TV went silent. He explained the situation in broad strokes, keeping Maya's identity private but outlining the basics. A pregnant woman being threatened and coerced by her ex, a guy who seemed comfortable using intimidation to get his way. What do you need, boss? Smoke asked. Information first. Nomad, you've got family in Tucson PD. Can you reach out, see if this Derek character has a record? Legal channels only. I want to know what we're dealing with. Carlos nodded. On it. Chaplain, I might need you to ride down with me tomorrow, just as presence, nothing more. Show her she's got support. Pete Morrison, Jack's cousin and the club chaplain, agreed immediately. At 55, Pete was the club's moral compass, a former Army medic who'd found his calling in helping others. Anyone else who wants to ride, we leave at dawn, Jack said. This is a support run, not an intimidation ride. We're there to make sure a woman who's being bullied knows she's got people who'll stand with her. We follow her lead, respect her wishes, and we do everything by the book. Clear? A chorus of affirmatives filled the room. Tommy Wrench raised his hand. What if this guy shows up while we're there? Then we make sure he understands that threats and intimidation stop now. But we do it legal. We don't touch him. We don't threaten him. We just stand there. Sometimes presence is enough. The next morning, 6 motorcycles rolled out of the Flagstaff clubhouse at dawn. Jack led on his custom Road King, with Chaplain Pete beside him, followed by Carlos, Smoke, Tommy, and a prospect named Danny, who'd been with the club for 8 months. The formation was tight, disciplined, 300 miles of highway stretching ahead, engines rumbling in synchronized rhythm as the Arizona sunrise painted the desert golden orange. They stopped once for gas and coffee, made it to Tucson by mid-morning. Jack texted Maya. We're in town. Coffee shop address? Her response came quickly with a location. When the 6 bikes pulled into the parking lot of a busy Starbucks, Maya was standing outside with a woman in her 40s wearing business casual, Sarah Chen, the lawyer. The riders dismounted, removing helmets. Jack approached slowly, aware of how intimidating 6 bikers could look. "Maya," he said, extending his hand. "Good to finally meet you in person." She shook his hand, her grip surprisingly firm despite the nervousness in her eyes. "You really rode 300 miles. Said I would." Jack gestured to his crew. "This is Chaplain Pete, my cousin, Carlos, Smoke, Tommy, and Danny. They're here because we look out for people who need it." Sarah Chen stepped forward, professional and unruffled by the motorcycle club presence. "I've reviewed the papers Derek gave you. We should talk inside. Gentlemen, thank you for the escort." "We'll be right here," Jack said. "Take your time." For the next hour, the Ponderosa riders stood in the parking lot, bikes parked in a neat row, visible to anyone passing by. They drank coffee, checked their phones, talked quietly. But their presence was unmistakable. 6 men in leather vests bearing the club patch, positioned like silent sentries. Inside, Sarah explained to Maya that the papers Derek had given her were heavily one-sided, likely drafted by a friend rather than a real attorney. They waived all her rights while providing no protections. More importantly, his threats about calling her landlord and boss could constitute harassment. "Here's what I recommend," Sarah said. "We file for child support through the state. It's not personal. It's ensuring your child gets what they're legally entitled to. If Derek wants to sign away parental rights, that's a separate process that requires court approval and doesn't eliminate his financial responsibility." "He'll be angry." "Probably. But here's the thing about bullies, they usually back down when they realize their target has support. And Maya, you clearly have support." When Maya emerged from the coffee shop, Jack read the relief in her posture. "How'd it go?" "She's filing paperwork on Monday, and she said if Derek contacts me again with threats, to document everything and call the police." Jack nodded. "Smart. You need anything else while we're in town? Grocery run? Anything for the apartment?" Maya hesitated, then admitted she'd been putting off buying prenatal vitamins because money was tight until next payday. 20 minutes later, the group was at a pharmacy, where Chaplain Pete, who'd raised 2 kids, helped her select what she needed. The club split the cost without discussion. As they prepared to ride back to Flagstaff, Jack pulled Maya aside. "You've got my number. You use it if you need it. Anytime. We're 3 hours away, but we ride fast when it matters." "Why are you doing this?" she asked again, the question that had haunted her since the first mistaken text. Jack looked at his crew, then back at her. "Because once upon a time, someone helped me when I needed it. My daughter's mom died when Sarah was 5. Car accident. I was a mess. Didn't know how I'd raise a kid alone. A motorcycle club in Phoenix took us in, helped me get on my feet. I joined their charter, learned what it meant to be part of something bigger than yourself. This club? We're carrying that forward. Nobody should face the hard stuff alone." Maya's eyes welled up. "Thank you. Don't thank us yet. Thank us when you're holding that baby and life's settled down. For now, just know you're not alone." The 6 motorcycles rumbled out of Tucson as the afternoon heat peaked, heading north toward Flagstaff. Behind them, Maya stood in the parking lot, hand on her belly, watching until they disappeared from view. For the first time since seeing those 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, she felt something close to hope. Chapter 3. Standing Ground. Monday morning came with unexpected fallout. Maya arrived at work to find her manager, Rita, waiting with a grim expression. "Derek called yesterday," Rita said. "Told some story about you stealing from the register. I know it's garbage, but corporate's making me do an inventory check before your shift. Policy." Maya's stomach dropped. He's retaliating, obviously, but I still have to follow procedure. Rita softened. "For what it's worth, I've worked with you for 2 years. I know you're solid. This is just covering my ass until corporate's satisfied." The inventory check took an hour, came back clean as expected, but the message was clear. Derek was making good on his threats. That afternoon, Maya's landlord called about noise complaints that didn't exist. Then her car insurance company contacted her about a claim she'd never filed. Maya called Sarah Chen, who documented everything. Then she called Jack. "He's escalating," Jack said after hearing the list. "Probably figured the legal papers scared you off. Now he's trying to pressure you into backing down." "What do I do?" "First, you keep documenting. Second, Sarah's filing a restraining order petition today. Third," Jack paused, "how do you feel about having some company for a few days? Just presence, making sure he knows you're not an easy target." "You mean you'd come back to Tucson?" "Already packed. Me and Chaplain Pete. We'll stay at a motel near your place, just be visible. Sometimes that's all it takes." That evening, 2 motorcycles pulled into the parking lot of Maya's apartment complex. Jack and Pete checked into a La Quinta down the street, then positioned themselves in lawn chairs outside Maya's building, visible and unmistakable in their club vests. The presence worked exactly as intended. Neighbors noticed, asked questions, got the story in broad strokes. A woman being harassed by her ex, bikers making sure she stayed safe. By Tuesday, 3 neighbors, 2 retired veterans and a grandmother who'd raised 4 kids alone, had joined the informal watch rotation. Derek showed up Wednesday afternoon, pulling into the parking lot in his beat-up Civic. He spotted Jack immediately, sitting outside Maya's building reading a newspaper. Pete was around the corner, working on motorcycle maintenance that didn't really need doing. Derek approached, trying to look casual. "You lost?" Jack looked up from his paper. "Nope, right where I need to be." "This is a private apartment complex. Visiting a friend? That a problem?" Derek's bravado faltered slightly when Pete walked around the corner, wiping grease from his hands. 2 large bikers, calm and unhurried, simply existing in Derek's space. "You need to tell Maya to drop this child support thing, it's not cool." Jack folded his newspaper. "What I need to tell Maya is her business. What you need to do is stop calling her work, stop filing false insurance claims, and stop harassing her. That's not a threat, that's advice, because right now, you're racking up documented harassment that's going to look real bad in family court." "Who the hell are you?" "Someone who looks out for people who can't look out for themselves. And Maya's got a lot of people looking out for her now. So here's how this works. You deal with your legal obligations through the proper channels, through lawyers and courts like an adult. You stop the intimidation, the threats, the petty revenge. You do that and we've got no problem. You keep pushing." Jack stood, his 6'3" frame unfolding from the chair. "Well, then we keep showing up. Legal, visible, and persistent." Derek looked between Jack and Pete, calculating. Whatever he saw made him decide against pushing further. "This isn't over. Actually, it is. You just don't know it yet." Jack sat back down, picked up his newspaper. "Have a good day, Derek." After Derek left, Pete chuckled. "Kid had no idea what to do with us. That's the point. We're not threatening him, not touching him. We're just here. It's amazing how much that changes people's behavior." Over the next 2 days, Derek made no further contact. Sarah Chen's restraining order petition moved forward, citing the harassment, the threats, and Derek's documented contact with Maya's employer and landlord. In family court, the judge reviewed the evidence and granted a temporary order while child support proceedings began. Friday evening, Jack and Pete prepared to ride back to Flagstaff. Maya came down to the parking lot where they were packing their bikes. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "You put your lives on hold for almost a week." Jack secured his saddlebag. "Lives weren't on hold. This is what we do. It's part of our lives. Besides, Chaplain here got to catch up on his paperback novels. He's been reading the same thriller for 3 days." Pete grinned. "It's a good book. And this was a good week. You're going to be okay, Maya. You've got Sarah handling the legal stuff. You've got neighbors who actually care now, and you've got our number if things go sideways." "The baby's due in March," Maya said suddenly. If you wanted to know." Jack's expression softened. "March. That's good. Spring, baby. Listen, when the time comes, you let us know. The club does baby showers sometimes, helps out with supplies. No pressure, but the offer stands. After they rode away, Maya stood in the parking lot as the sun set over Tucson. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sarah Chen confirming Derek had agreed to drop all harassment in exchange for dropping the restraining order petition, though the child support proceedings would continue. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. That night, Maya pulled out the ultrasound photo, the one she'd accidentally sent to a wrong number almost a month ago. She touched the grainy image, then looked at her phone where Jack's last text glowed. "You've got this. We're a phone call away." For the first time since discovering her pregnancy, Maya let herself imagine a future that didn't feel quite so overwhelming. Maybe she couldn't do this alone, but maybe, she realized, she didn't have to. Chapter 4. Full Circle March arrived with unexpected warmth in Tucson. Maya's belly had grown to the point where her diner uniform needed constant adjustment, and her feet ached by the end of every shift. But she'd made it. 7 months of careful budgeting, prenatal appointments, and building a support network that extended beyond anything she'd imagined. Derek had faded into court-mandated child support payments and zero contact. Sarah Chen had become a friend beyond just a lawyer. The neighbors who'd joined that impromptu watch rotation had evolved into something like an extended family. Mrs. Rodriguez brought over homemade tamales twice a week, and the retired veterans, Tom and Marcus, had fixed her car's alternator for free. Jack Morrison called every few weeks, checking in. The conversations had evolved from crisis management to something easier, updates about his daughter Sarah's college achievements, Maya's pregnancy progress, club news from Flagstaff. They'd become friends through the strangest circumstances. It was a Tuesday evening when Maya's water broke, 3 weeks earlier than expected. She was alone in her apartment, and panic briefly overrode the breathing exercises she'd practiced. She called 911, then Mrs. Rodriguez, then, without fully thinking about it, Jack Morrison. He answered immediately. "Maya, what's wrong?" "Baby's coming. I'm heading to the hospital now. Mrs. Rodriguez is driving me. I wanted someone to know." "Which hospital?" "St. Joseph's." "We're 3 hours out. I'm getting the crew together now. You're going to be fine, Maya. Call me when you can, okay?" In Flagstaff, Jack walked into the clubhouse where a dozen members were finishing dinner. "Maya's in labor. Who's up for a night ride?" 8 hands went up immediately. Within 20 minutes, 9 motorcycles roared out of the compound. Jack, Pete, Carlos, Smoke, Tommy, and 4 other members who'd heard the story and wanted to be there. They rode through the dark desert, headlights cutting through the night, engines synchronized in a sound that was part mechanical, part tribal. They made the 3-hour ride in 2.5, pulling into St. Joseph's parking lot just after midnight. The night security guard looked alarmed until Jack explained they were there for a friend in labor. "You're with the Rivera girl?" the guard asked. "Lady who brought her in said there might be some motorcycle folks showing up. Labor and delivery is 3rd floor, but there's only 2 visitors allowed in the room." "We'll wait," Jack said. "Just want her to know we're here." The crew settled into the waiting room, an odd sight. 9 bikers in leather vests, sitting among expectant families at midnight. Pete pulled out his worn paperback. Carlos bought terrible coffee from the vending machine. They waited. At 3:47 a.m., Mrs. Rodriguez emerged, beaming. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, healthy baby girl. Maya's asking for Jack. Jack followed her up, aware he was stepping into something profound. Maya's hospital room was quiet except for monitors beeping softly. She looked exhausted, hair plastered to her forehead, but she was smiling, radiant despite the fatigue. And in her arms, wrapped in the standard pink and white hospital blanket, was a tiny human with a shock of dark hair and Maya's nose. "Jack," Maya said softly. "Meet Isabella. Izzy." Jack approached slowly, something tightening in his chest. He'd been present for his daughter's birth 20 years ago, remembered that overwhelming cocktail of joy and terror and responsibility. "She's beautiful, Maya. Absolutely perfect." "I couldn't have done this without you, any of this." Maya's eyes filled. "That wrong number text. It changed everything." "You did this?" Jack corrected gently. You found the strength, made the decisions, built the support network. We just showed up when you needed us. Can I tell her about you someday? About the biker president who rode 300 miles because of a mistaken ultrasound? Jack laughed quietly. Yeah, you can tell her. And you can tell her that she's got people who care about her, even though she just got here. That's a pretty good start to life. He stayed for 20 minutes, just keeping Maya company while she fed Izzy for the first time. Then he returned to the waiting room where his crew was dozing in uncomfortable chairs. Everyone okay? Smoke asked, instantly alert. Perfect. Baby girl, healthy, mom's doing great. Oh, so we rode 3 hours in the middle of the night just to sit in a waiting room? Tommy grinned. Best ride we've done all year. They left as dawn broke over Tucson, 9 motorcycles pulling out of St. Joseph's parking lot in formation. Jack looked back once, seeing the hospital windows catching the first light, knowing somewhere in there a woman who'd sent a mistaken text was beginning a new chapter with her daughter. The ride back to Flagstaff was quieter, more contemplative. When they pulled into the clubhouse compound, several members who hadn't made the ride were waiting with breakfast. How'd it go? Danny, the prospect, asked. Perfect, Jack said. Exactly how it should go. That evening, Jack's phone buzzed with a photo, Izzy in her hospital bassinet, tiny and perfect. The message from Maya read, "Her middle name is Jacqueline. Hope that's okay." Jack stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "That's more than okay. That's an honor. Welcome to the world, Isabella Jacqueline Rivera." He showed the photo to Chaplain Pete, who'd been with him through the entire journey from that first mistaken text to this moment. "You know what this is?" Pete asked. "This is why we do what we do. Not for recognition, not for thanks. For this. Knowing someone's life is better because we showed up." Jack nodded, looking at the photo again. She's going to grow up knowing that when her mom needed help, people came. That's a good foundation. And when she's older, Maya'll tell her the story, how her mom sent an ultrasound to the wrong number and that wrong number became family. That's going to be one hell of a story. Outside, the Arizona sunset painted the sky orange and purple, and in the distance the sound of motorcycles echoed. Other members returning from rides, from work, from the ordinary business of life. The Ponderosa Riders Clubhouse hummed with activity, with brotherhood, with the ongoing mission of showing up for people who needed it. Jack Morrison sat on the clubhouse porch, beer in hand, phone showing a photo of a newborn who bore his daughter's name. In a hospital 3 hours south, Maya Rivera held her daughter and told her about the biker who rode 300 miles because of a mistaken text, who stood guard when threats came, who showed up in a hospital waiting room at midnight just to make sure she knew she wasn't alone. And in the years to come, when Izzy was old enough to understand, she'd learn that family wasn't just blood. Sometimes it was the people who showed up when it mattered, who rode through the night because someone needed them, who turned a mistake into something miraculous. The wrong number that became the right call at exactly the right time.